morning.
Hey.
You are with the Real Therapist for the Culture, and we have an in-house guest.
Introduce yourself, guest.
Hello, my name is Alex Coleman.
We told you don't have to lean into this.
I am the father of Sophia's daughter.
Well, wait a second. You just jumped the gun. We just said for you to introduce yourself.
I thought that was the introduction.
This is Al. Okay. Hey,
This
Al.
is Alex
Hello.
Cameron Coleman.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Hence, the kid name is from his middle name.
All right.
Absolutely.
Who are you?
I'm Sophia Cox.
And I'm Dr. L. And we are here again this week. And hopefully you guys have listened to our pledge from weeks ago and you have started to follow us on all of the things, and you have subscribed to our YouTube, and you're watching, and you have caught up.
We almost 5 years in, so what I
We
feel
say this
like
every episode
exactly.
until May.
Yeah, almost 5 years in. Avid listeners, I think you should make sure that you have covered every episode.
And wait a second, and do a pew check, do a row check. Go into your group chat. Drop into your group chat the
like
link
that.
to our YouTube and
like
say,
that.
hey, here's some dope black therapists. They are super funny, super cute, super smart. They brings
Yeah.
the information. Just subscribe. It costs you nothing. Turn your notifications off. You won't get the notifications if you don't want them.
Yo, this commercial that you've been doing the last two pods,
Thank you.
I am really feeling it, because the joke is that we haven't gone as big because it's two similar people who don't know how to advertise or beg for subscribers. And I feel like you're coming out of that. You put Journey on the chopping block. We compared ourselves to an 11-year-old. I feel like you're doing a good
Thank
job.
you.
I did have a
Thank you.
moment the other day where it's like, I was thankful that we hit the 100 subscribers, but I'm like,
Now we slow rolling. It's like a slow roll
and then
up
I'm
the
like,
mountain.
do you know how many people we know individually? It was 65 of y'all on the line. Like, you got sorors and people that you know. I know tons of people from college, New York, Post, anywhere.
Alex, are you subscribed?
Yeah.
Check right now. Look,
Are you subscribed to our podcast?
because it's
But
no
what's the
way.
platform? What's the
YouTube.
YouTube.
I know you had a YouTube.
Oh, that's crazy.
She didn't tell me.
You think we got this camera here for no reason?
I was on Apple on a podcast.
Well, thank you. Now go there and do that as we are talking.
I
It's
didn't
no
know that.
way. Just with the people that we know, let alone, but it goes back to sometimes that support be coming from the people you don't know.
So you know what? But you know what, Alex? You know what that means? It means that we haven't done our diligence in
Exactly.
making sure people know.
And I'm willing to own that. And you know what? I'm feeling good today. I'm lighting it up blue for my baby Cameron. It is World Autism Awareness Acceptance Month. So find ways to just get a little bit knowledge about these beautiful individuals out here.
Yes.
It's like paying attention to not so much the disability and the label, but them individually. They're unique beings in their own way. And if
love
you
that.
really think about it, we all have a little bit of autistic traits in us when you really...
Neurodivergency.
Exactly.
Is that what they're
Some
calling it these
pervasive
days?
stuff is showing up in a lot of people in this world, right? So stop judging and just make sure I don't have to, because everybody got to wait till it's in their family to then start doing the research.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they'll teach you how to interact with that kid in Walmart, or just to look at that mom and say, we with you.
Yeah.
Instead of
or
saying,
not to look at
get
that
your
mom.
badass kid over there because she's
Exactly.
rolling on the floor, and then once you see her flapping, it's like, oh, she got something wrong with her. Like, come on, just educate yourself
Yeah.
so that you can support in another way besides it happen to be, you know, a neighbor
Right, absolutely.
or it's your cousin. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Light it up, blue guys. All right,
Yeah.
so...
Agree.
Sophia's bringing the topic. What you
It's
got
on
for
me.
us?
It's on me. So hence my baby father is here. We are jumping right into co-parenting. Dr. L did maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, you did a platform, a workshop about co-parenting. We talk about it all the time in therapy, personal lives. I've been co-parenting now 13 years,
Yeah, about 13
in
years.
different ways with my direct biological kid, but also with my blended family. So I wouldn't call myself like a master at this because every day is changing and evolving. But I did want to hear from a male perspective, because these women got a lot to say about what co-parenting is, what it should look like. So I'm throwing it out. We got a panel today. I'm throwing it out. When you hear co-parenting, how would you define that? Dr. L, I'm going to start with you as the other clinician of this.
How would I define it today?
Yes.
Because the definition is a reflection of the experience.
Oh, talk that.
So today I would define it as a collaborative journey.
Where you going?
A collaborative journey up the mountain. Yep, it's a fucking mountain. And sometimes your partner gets ahead of you. Sometimes y'all together. Sometimes they fall behind. Collaborative journey.
Okay.
My ADHD is off the hook today. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I went from one thing to bananas are bossy in my mind. And I'm like, bananas are bossy. And it was bad.
And
it was really, really bad.
Out so eloquently by saying collaborative. I'm like, oh, I like this. And then it went to a fucking mountain, and I was...
Yeah. Collaborative journey up the mountain.
I got you. Alex, how would you define co-parenting?
I would define it. I don't know if you're really a co-parenting unless there's like a degree of equality between the decisions between the father and the mother. Like, I think it takes both to be able to have inputs and both inputs to be like counted. So I think when two people come together and they have a meeting of the minds to come out with what's best for the child, then you are co-parenting.
Ooh,
Okay.
That was pretty eloquent itself. Yeah.
This is just topic. I had a question. Is it equal input?
Ooh, hold.
Sorry.
Hold.
Sorry. Put a pin in it.
It's on a paper.
Okay. All right.
Do you guys realize, like, Dr. L, she'll come with her iPad and the pen, and I come with a piece of paper or sticky or index. I'm old school.
But
Because I like to write my thing out. She writes hers too, but it's just written on, I'm not using the iPad, I'm not taking the kids or any of that. Like, I come with a piece of lined paper all the time.
the crazy thing though is if I lose my pencil, bananas. Because I don't like to type. Even though I use the iPad, I use it to write. I don't like
Which
to
is
type.
wow, because it's so crazy to see your handwriting on that platform. It's really challenging for me. But let me tell you what most definitions, it was very simple.
Okay.
Sharing the duties of raising a child or children. Used especially of parents who are separated or not in a relationship. I thought either one of you guys were gonna be clear about that, because people have argued and said, well, we're co-parenting and we're still together. And I'm like, I could see how that is the case, right? It's like we are making decisions together in this household. But for the sake of today's conversation, we're focusing mainly on that divorced or broken relationship and doing dual responsibilities to raise a child. Not so much the ones that still, not saying that's a whole nother episode, because people think that it's only challenging when
that's
y'all
what I
are
was
not
gonna
together.
say.
Absolutely not. Me and my spouse, we have very heated discussions about rearing our children, and we're together because we're still unique individuals, right? With different backgrounds. But for the sake of today, we're talking about the no longer together.
Okay. All right. That's
about
clear.
co-parenting. And even with research, it says 50%, this is always so like heartbreaking for me. Even though we know that divorce is 50%, but just still reading it on the other side, I hate it. 50% of all children have or will have divorced parents. We are divorced. Yeah. Alex likes to reference me as his baby mother. And I used to say, why? And he says chicks like it better that way. It's deeper when I say we're divorced. And he said that they would be like, oh, so tell me more about it. If I say baby mother, that's kind of the norm. Is that correct? Did you say it that way? Why were you referencing me or still reference me opposed to my ex-wife? That's my baby mother.
So I guess two things. Like, one, I think when we first divorced, it was harder for me to date when you weren't married, because people always have an assumption that just because you were with somebody, you're going back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it made it more difficult. But now I think that, we were married, but it's kind of like that part of life is over, and now we've moved into like a different phase where now we are co-parents, and it's more about that than like ex-wife at this point.
Oh, I like that, because I used to be like, my God, put some respect on my name. Stop walking through the streets saying, that's just my baby mother. Like, I was married to you, sir. But I get it. But he also said that it was easier with women too.
Oh, absolutely.
I was gonna ask you, because she introduced you as my baby father, and I was gonna say, do you prefer a title?
No, I don't think she says my ex-husband. I feel any different. I don't care.
It don't give you no kind of bravado.
Baby mother used to send me through the roof.
Oh, good. Tell us why.
Well, I don't remember specifically when we talked about it in the episode Who Wants to Be a Baby Mother,
exactly.
right? But baby mother felt like a downgrade to me. Like a chicken head
bird,
right.
Dramatic, causing problems. You standing on the step.
And Baltimore people, no shade, Alex.
Come and get your baby.
Baltimore people
say no
it's
shade,
stupid.
it's gonna be shade.
Exactly.
Baltimore people like baby mother, and I'm like,
New York people say mother too.
they don't say it the same way that Baltimore people say it. It's a little bit different, but you're not gonna be on the phone, and I'm like, no, don't call me baby mother.
What's preferred?
For me, well,
My daughter's mother.
say my name, bro,
They don't know who is that. So once they said,
or say Journey's mom. But I say the other parent.
But who says baby mother? That bothers you.
My baby father used to.
my baby father.
Used to.
So what would you want him to say?
He can say the same thing I say, other parent. That's what I say, other parent. But
Maybe in our situation, to me, it's not as offensive because we were married. So even though I say that, she knows that she's my ex-wife, even if I call her my baby mother.
In as time goes on, though, I think that it starts to feel different. Like now, it doesn't bother me now. It used to bother me, like
Maybe
years
at the
ago.
beginning,
At the beginning, it did bother me. But I'd be like, don't call me baby mother to anybody. If you say it to me, that's fine. But like, don't say it to anybody else. But he still does it. It doesn't bother me though.
Yeah. So, one thing.
I'm the favorite baby mother though.
Oh.
That's my title, the favorite baby mother.
So when it goes back to what would you prefer? That's what. Oh God.
You put favorite in front of it.
This is terrible.
That is terrible. Well, I don't. He doesn't. You don't have any other children, so I have to wait for that time to come. But one of the things, like even talking about our last couple of episodes about Risa Tisa, did you get a little bit? Okay.
I didn't watch it.
And that just led women to say that sometimes they will stay in relationships to avoid this of co-parenting. What do you think it is about co-parenting that makes people like nervous or fearful, like this isn't gonna work? What did you think, or you?
I think that people, it's scary because people don't know how to separate their personal feelings from. So what I often say to people, okay, you got to start practicing. If somebody is getting, if this is what journey they're on, getting to co-parenting, because I'll be honest, I'll talk to a lot of women and they start doing what we do sometimes, and everything is, oh no, yeah, my kid can't go with you. I don't know if they're safe. You had a kid with this person. Yeah. What do you mean? Or no, you get high. They was getting high when y'all was together. What are you talking about? Like, exactly. You know what I mean?
It was around that smoke dick just because you was there and you opened the window that time.
I said, so sometimes you got to separate your feelings that you have for that person as a person, as opposed to the feelings as another parent.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard for people. They don't know how to pull themselves out of it. And it's like, oh well, I am doing what's best for the child. Let's dig into this a little bit.
Exactly. Let's break this down. I agree. I'll add to that. What do you think the perception about co-parenting could make someone fearful?
From the outside of the people involved.
The people involved.
I just don't think co-parenting is like the ideal dynamic when it comes to raising a child
Yeah.
for anybody. I don't think it's ideal for the child or the two parents involved.
So you know what I would say to that?
What does ideal mean?
Thank you. That's what these expectations that we place on ourselves line us up or set us up to have this fear or anxiety of something new because I expected, because I had a child with this kid, we're going to be together forever. We're going to raise this child or these children together, that I'm not even allowing myself to be open for another opportunity. Because say, we're together, and not saying that this was our situation, but it becomes hostile and it becomes very toxic, and that kid is experiencing that, opposed to the possibility of us co-parenting and being happy individually and more healthier, that we are raising them in such a more productive, effective way, but I'm missing out because I'm so locked in on what I thought was ideal.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that, a situation between two people may not work out, but I still ultimately think that a child is better in a home with their two biological parents. Like, I think that it's a disadvantage to both the parents and the child. Like, you and I, we co-parent well now, but I only spend 50% of my daughter's life with her. The other half of her life, I don't see her. You know what I mean? Like,
But what about, say, if we were together, you traveled for work and you was out of the home a certain amount of time, or due to your work, is it possible that you could be in a home with both natural parents and still do not get that?
Yes.
Or how many times a parent is like, oh my God, I saw my kid take their first steps on a video because I was in LA for a conference, or...
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but ultimately I think that there is like a fear around co-parenting.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I think that women fear it less because typically the woman is going to be the one that gets the more beneficial side of the co-parenting. So
Yeah.
it's, of course, a woman is less likely to...
A beneficial side of co-parenting?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like, if a man and woman go to court, a woman is typically going to come out on a better end than a man.
What's the better end? Like having the most time, or having the most say?
It could be time or say so, or financially.
I agree to that.
If we fought in court, we probably wouldn't come away with joint legal, joint physical.
I think you would.
I would have blew you out.
I don't think so.
I look better on paper.
Maybe physical, but probably definitely not joint legal.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have blew him out on paper. At that time, your career was doing whatever. I had like this and that. I would have blew you out.
Even if it wasn't.
You don't feel like in this time, if the dude actually has the desire for more, because that's where my opinion is.
No,
absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
And my baby father listens. He don't want 50% of my responsibility.
I mean, that's a choice, but if he did, then and he fought for it legally, I don't think that he would get it.
Oh, he wouldn't, but
that's what I'm saying. I agree. I feel like up close personally and professionally, I have seen people on paper, it looks equal, and that mother was like, yeah, you getting weekends, and that's what it is, and that's what was granted. More times than not. We created our own thing. So we came in with a presentation. People who's been divorced, that process is already challenging. So one area that we wanted less of their input was really about our child. Even though we were not in the best emotional or mental space around each other, we did agree, let's kind of create our own contract and then just present it to them. And that probably was one of the most effective things that came out of our divorce. But I do agree that women have less fear around it because it's like they're gonna be with me anyway. I'm gonna kind of control what this look like. Do you feel like you experienced that directly with me? That I'm like, I am the superior parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time. Yeah, definitely. But I think like co-parenting is very tricky, right? Like depending on the start of the depending on the previous relationship prior to co-parenting, I think determines a lot of like how the co-parenting starts. Like say you and I just were like a fling and we had a kid, then maybe it would be like a little bit different. And maybe we could go into it and really just be like co-parents. But it took us a while to get to the point where we are more like a team. So it's like certain things I rely on you to make decisions on. Certain things maybe you rely on me to make decisions on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it takes a while to get that. And up until that point, somebody has to have the say so. And if me being man know that like if we go back and forth too much and it leads to a situation where we can't decide and you're like, all right, well, let's let the courts decide. Like, I remember we were getting argued, we were like, well, let's let the courts decide.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to lose going into that. So it's like I have to give in order to try to keep the peace at times.
So
That's so sad. I'm glad that
when you
I had to learn.
When you first asked what could make co-parenting hard, my other thought was it's hard to compromise while healing.
That's on there. But go ahead, go with it.
And so when you're in a space where you're experiencing grief, because we always remind people grief is not only about death. Grief is about the loss of something.
Even if you were okay with it ending,
yes.
You always got to add that clause.
Absolutely.
People feel like I can't grieve this breakup or this divorce because we knew that we didn't want to be together. No, you still are grieving that there is a loss. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I agree with that.
And it's hard to compromise when you're sitting in a place of discomfort emotionally.
Yeah.
And so it makes it foggy. And it's like, oh, you just want what you want. And actually both of us want what we want.
Exactly.
And it's hard to come and meet in the middle of this table type of thing.
And to add to that, as well as what Alex was saying, where he said like the women don't fear co-parenting as much because it's like you feel like you're going to get the upper hand with the kid. But what happens with many women, of course not all, is this fact of feeling like they lost. Like, so now I have the kid all the time now. You giving this little bit of money. I'm responsible for doctor's appointments and plus extracurricular activities. They feel like sometimes they're getting the shorter end of the stick, which shows up with a little bit of resentment, frustration, all while you're trying to compromise. So it's like, on paper, it could look like the woman is winning, but many women feel like, I'm not winning.
And that's what I was going to say.
I can't really date now. I got the kid all the time. You rocking and rolling. You getting 2 weekends out the month or whatever the case is or whatever day you're free. Still falls back on me. And a woman is feeling like I didn't win nothing.
I mean, I think
and you free now.
So I'm going to be...
That depends on perspective.
Of course.
It does.
It all does.
Maybe I want my kid more and you won't let me have my kid more. Or maybe I want an extra day and you won't let me have an extra day.
Do you feel like men experience that in your conversations with men? Do you feel like they experience that more than I'm free, I don't have to have the kid except for on the weekends and I'm just sowing my roll oats?
I think that I experience a lot of men who understand the position that men are in when it comes to co-parenting. And I think a lot of men are accepting of what's offered because they don't want to create situations where they are forced to do things a certain way because of like courts and stuff. So I think that a lot of men just want to keep the peace. So if that means she says, hey, you can't have your kid this day or that day, or that, you kind of just go along with it because you understand the other side of it.
And you may have seen the other side with another male, and it's like, oh damn! Not only you paying $1,500 for this 3-year-old a month, and I could only see you once a month. You like, I don't want no parts of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could admit when you said that, yes, for many years I had that superiority role. what shifted at was not our co-parenting duo. Watching my husband co-parent and watching a mother or mothers like dictate stuff, but then include him when it was down for finances. Like, hey, what do you think about this school? You already signed up for the school. And now we're talking about tuition as a team, but you already made the decision. So watching how that impacted him and then started to see the manipulative game that was happening, it was like, oh my God, I think I'm the end all be all too. I would talk to him and say, my child, please don't play with my kid. This is how this is gonna go, and you don't want no problem with me about my kid. It was like that raw, like I was talking to a one-night stand, a stranger, not someone that I spent years with, and also who I know loves his child. It was just like, yeah, I don't give a shit about none of that. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It was like that. So if I didn't see it, that's why I'm so thankful that life plays out, because my rule was I would never be with anyone who had children, but it was like all of this had to play out for me to see the impact that this was having on my person who I'm protective over, and then also being looped in it too. It was like, I had an opportunity to see myself. And then that started to make me really look at it more like a team. Like, this is her other parent, for real. I always called them the others. I don't even say other parent, it was the others in my house. Like, but the others have a very significant role. This father is not this second-class citizen.
Nice. You're so mature.
I had to learn that through watching it play out. And he may not have known that, but it became the shift of Cameron, Mooch, our daughter. But before it was like, you had my daughter wearing this for picture day? It was never nothing harmful either. It was really like she looked ashy or she didn't have grease in her hair. I sent you grease to grease her hair. I'm sure it was challenging.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was very challenging. I mean, because like for me, I mean, you know my situation. It's not like my father was around, so it's like I'm learning, like as I literally am going along, what that means, what that looks like, how to take care of a little girl, how to, you know, parent, you know, in my own way, and like that takes time. It's like, yeah, I know how to keep her safe,
right?
You know, but I don't know how to necessarily care for a little girl.
Yeah.
So
remember, you was crying,
time.
like to go get her sanitary napkins?
Oh, that was bad.
It was really intense.
I had no idea what to do.
Yeah, but you figured out, Mr. iPhone versus Android, you figured out how to FaceTime me that day. iPhone people swear like they just cannot figure out, like,
what's up with something, sugar?
I bet you found it out in CVS, like, hey, show me what to do. But yeah, no, I get that. And thank you for sharing that vulnerable space. Going back to something that Dr. L said about trying to compromise and healing at the same time could be challenging. One of the biggest things that I got when I did do some research was what supports people in co-parenting is trying to shift to look at it as a business partnership. I was like, and I felt like maybe you could appreciate this in business. We kind of deal with the very more humanistic, Rogerian, we all about how we feel and how people feel. But someone who has a business standpoint, what do you think about understanding more of a business partnership so it doesn't feel as personal, even though it is?
I don't know. I don't look at it like that. I mean, I think for me it needs to be a personal relationship because it's about the person that's most important to me. So it's like I don't want to remove emotion from the decisions that I'm making about our child. You know what I mean? I want emotion to be involved, and I feel like that the dynamic changes because it's no longer a romantic relationship, but it's still a relationship of sorts, you know, like
that is ongoing, right? And so for me, like, and I'm not a business person, but in hearing it like that, a business relationship it has a start, it should have an end typically, right? the other thing about that is that everybody is about what they're coming out of it with. And I think that when it comes to negotiating the best interest of children, it's not going to be in the best interest of the children if I'm looking at it as of what am I getting out of this.
Yeah. And so, and I hear what both of you guys are saying, like that emotional piece, that this is personal, this is the most important person. But I do like the fact of seeing it as a business where when you think about starting a business, even though we're not like so business like how you may be, but we are running businesses, right? Every business has a mission statement, right? And when you think about the mission statement of your business, it usually what draws you to the business. It's like, man, this was heartfelt. It's our vision to be supportive to this population and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, I could see creating this business idea, like what's our mission here? Our mission is the development and the well-being of the most important thing. I still think that you can attempt to separate it, because when you don't, that's where it gets murky. Mothers, and I'm coming from mothers in this sense, because mothers will say, this is for the best interest of my kid. And it's like, no, you're bitter. I know you hate that word.
Hate it.
You are bitter and you have a lot of resentment and you have not let go what was. And you're trying to convince yourself that this is about the kid.
Yeah.
What does this new relationship has to do with? This kid is 7 years old, so before it's like, oh no, my kid can't be around nobody else until they could talk. Okay, but you let them go to your cousin's house and they can't talk, but it's like, you know the cousin, cool. But now your kid is 7 and it's still, oh, I don't want her around another woman. Was there ever a problem with this woman or any history of your kid father with other women? Like, how is that in the best interest of the kid? That's your own stuff. But maybe if you go in like, okay, this is a business and our mission statement says this, maybe I could try to separate this personal attachment that I have to it. Because what happens in co-parenting that gets challenging is you don't get to control the same way anymore.
I was going to say, it's all about control.
Exactly. When we were together, I kind of could control what this looks like. But now in a separate house, possibly a separate state, I don't have that control. And you can watch where you looking for that power.
A lot of women control through access, though.
That's sad. Elaborate.
Like a woman can control through access. Like if you don't do this the way I want to do it, then I'll withdraw the kid.
Yeah.
People still doing that in 2024?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't pay, like I'm behind on one child support. Oh, he not coming this weekend? Like, well, damn.
I mean, I think it's.
I don't feel like if you late on any, you should be denied access to your kid. That's my opinion.
Late on any what?
Any child support. Not 1 or 10. I don't feel like that financial component does not go together.
They don't go together.
You saying the mission is about the well-being of this kid. What does the money, you're not homeless, you just haven't gotten your coins, but what does that have to do with that kid being able to spend Saturday or this one weekend?
Nothing. You got finances on there though?
Go for it. We could jump, because I was about to go into setting internal boundaries, because it kind of looped into that, but we could go to finances.
I think finances is what makes the whole co-parenting thing tricky though.
Tell us how.
Because your definition, the definition you read out was like share. And what the fuck does share mean? Does it mean 50-50? Does it like, what exactly does it mean? I am not a child support person, because at the end of the day,
what does that mean? I'm not a child support person.
So I'm not like you better take them down child support. Like, okay, I'm not
gotcha.
like that's not my thing, right? And simply because at the end of the day, it's no dollar amount. Nobody can determine a dollar amount that's needed to raise these children.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a car payment. Like, these little scavengers suck the life out of your pockets. And so I was sitting here chuckling because it's this girl on Instagram. She's from Baltimore. and she does this thing every month when she get her child support check. And she was like, yeah, got my check. Let's go ball out on and see what we can get this month. Check was $7.50. She was like, and so she's navigating dollar store, cha-ching. Oh, now he want to go to Five Below. Oh, he loves the macaroni at Panera, and da 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 da. Oh, thank you for spending the day with us. We are negative $87.50 in the hole, spending my baby father's child support check, right? And so ultimately, and I don't like to get caught up in the dollar amounts of things, but people don't want to talk about how we share that responsibility.
I mean, I'm really curious as to, like, what is the character of these men prior to having a child? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, I mean, you don't see prior to having a child that man probably wouldn't be a good good person to co-parent with or to raise a child with. Is it just like he was doing everything, and then once you have a child, he does nothing?
Yeah.
That's
So I do see it less real like that when they doing everything and then they stop. I do, in my experience, have seen some men become extremely bitter and then just pull back, period.
So that,
with even reaching out for the child, period. Not just, oh, I'm doing everything and now I'm just not paying. I've just pulled away completely from the entire dynamic. So I have seen that situation, but it's rare that I've seen doing, and now it's like, oh, I want to spend time and see the kids so much, but I'm not giving no money.
I think that Alex said that women control through access. I feel like men maintain their control, some men, through finances. It's like,
I can see that.
Well,
you control them when I can see them or not.
What to do, or you're not telling me how much I'm giving you, and sometimes it's about trust too, right?
Oh, we go.
The trust plays in there. If I tell Journey's dad, like, oh yeah, dance is $3,500, send your half. He not asking for proof that it's $3,500, right? He gonna take a long time to send his fucking half, but he's not asking for proof,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Whereas somebody else like, well, no, send it to me. I need to see. I'm not sending the money to you. He'll send me the credit card. So yeah, it's about trust. Here,
but it's also kind of like what Alex was saying. What was the character of that man? Don't forget that man was watching the character of her. Don't let that woman have had another kid where it's like, bitch, I see what you do with the $300 you get this month. You bought us crab legs. You took us to Sky Zone and didn't even have your kid with you. You had your nephew. Like, I watch what you do with money.
You ain't got that BBL, girl.
Even not with that $300 a month.
Well, you want to be able to claim the kid every year on the taxes. Oh, we had a real interesting conversation the other day about the tax.
Every year I call Alex, I'll be like, "Is it my year?" He'd be like, "You know it ain't your year." I'll be like, "I was just trying. But we definitely have that tax conversation.
Absolutely.
But that man also was watching. Even if she didn't have a child, he's watching what her spending patterns look like. So now that we're not there, you got $1,500 a month. Like, I already know you with your girls at Ruskin. What's the other one we like downtown by the water? The Lock Bar.
The Lock Bar.
Like, you going to all the swanky little spots.
Your ass was just at Four Seasons getting a massage.
Exactly. And you did the whole day work too. Like, bitch, I saw your story. You still there? You got a facial and a massage. So it's like, everybody was paying attention to character.
Absolutely.
Not just what the man was doing and now isn't doing. That man feels like, I don't trust you. So let's just jump right into that. What are key factors? I want to hear from both of you guys. Name 2 key factors that you feel like are pivotal in co-parenting. You said trust already, so let's take that away. I'll add to not only trusting you with the finances, but just trusting how this person moves, trusting how you'll show up in relationships. I did say to Alex when Cameron was younger, like, I don't know if I trust that when you are in a new relationship, you're not going to get caught in that relationship and miss her. And he was appalled. But I just wanted to say it. I just needed to say it. I just needed to be open. Oh, all right, that was one of my characteristics, I'll say. A level of openness. But there was a lack of trust as far as thinking that he wouldn't be able to maintain 2 females.
Got you.
So trust could go in total different ways. Give me your 2. Give me 1 at a time and then define and then give the next, please.
Empathy.
Did I have that on my list? Yeah.
I think empathy.
That's beautiful.
I know that
Just define empathy, because people confuse that.
Empathy is the ability to see the other side of it. Not to feel bad for somebody. It's not about sympathy, but to see where somebody is coming from.
And not losing you still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not losing you, and not being cold either. And that's why I don't like the business thing, because it makes it adds a level of coldness to it for me. And so empathy is the safe word.
Okay. What else? I said 2, please.
Empathy and communication.
I was going to say that.
I was about to say. I thought y'all was going to start with that.
That's what I was going to say. Communication.
Yeah. And communication is tricky. Communication is a broad thing. And so communication is like the tone, the frequency in which you communicate about things, the timeliness. I got a text from my baby father yesterday. All these fucking dates he traveling. And so my response was poor. It was like, what's new? I really could have. He was like, oh, like he sends the face like, whatever. But timeliness, the context of how you communicate, like, are you yelling at one another? Are you cussing? Can you only communicate via text message? That's bizarre to me.
But that's true. So one of the things that I was going to say before I wanted to hear some factors from you guys is, with co-parenting, what people struggle with is because they're not setting boundaries, right? Where we just out here winging it. Like, all right, fine, we're 2 parents, we love this kid, and this is how it is. But it's like, no, you get to create boundaries. I realize that when we speak to each other, you trigger me. And then the kid isn't the focal point anymore.
Absolutely.
So because of that, we need to text or email until I could move past that. But right now, when I hear your voice, that does something to me. That is a level of awareness. That's another factor for me. I'll break mine down. But that level of awareness really support you in doing this in an effective way, opposed to just feeling like you have to take the phone call, or because Dr. L said that's crazy to her. Like, no, be okay with saying, we can't talk past 2 minutes. So maybe timing yourself. Like, I already know as soon as we get to 2 minutes, he gonna say something like, yeah, cuz let me find out you going to DR again. And it's like, it's that 2-minute mark where somebody is gonna go left. Texting and email may have to work for a while. We text for a little while. It didn't last for years, but neither one of us could tolerate communicating. And I had to say, sir, you're not going to keep calling me names. I'm not going to keep trying to go back and forth. If it's not about your daughter, please do not call me. Please do not text me.
Yeah. I mean, so when it comes to communication, one, I think like co-parenting is like, it's a relationship. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's not just 2 people have a child. And I think that relationship needs to be nurtured and developed.
Warm.
You know, I can't imagine like every time I call you, like, it's just, we can't wait to get off the phone. You know, it's just like, I can't stand this person. It's like, how long does that go on? To me, that's still a part of the old relationship where it was like feelings that were attached, like romantic feelings. I feel like once it moves into like just strictly co-parenting, you know, I think that people overuse the like, I'll do anything for my child, or my child is most important. Because truly, I think what's most important to a child is like 2 parents coming together, especially if they're not together, as much as possible
Yeah.
to do what's in the best interest of the child. In order to do that, I think that you truly have to have like a positive relationship amongst the parents, so that it's not like any tugging or pulling. You know what I mean? It's like I can call you and tell you my shortcomings as a parent without worried about you using it against me. And then you can give me feedback, because it's our child that can make me a better parent. But I can't do that if you and I don't have a good relationship.
Yeah.
I gotta hide my shortcomings from you, which in turn affects my ability to raise our child.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah. That's
so relationship.
That's good.
What else would you say? What's another characteristic that you feel could support having an effective co-parenting relationship?
I just think like acceptance of like imperfections, to understand that like I'm doing the best I can with what I have and what I know, and that it may not be what you think is best, but you trust and I have the best interest of our child at hand. You like allow me, like some room to make mistakes without feeling like I'm walking on eggshells.
I like acceptance. I like acceptance.
I like that, Alex. My flip of it, as opposed to saying accepting imperfections, my flip would be acknowledging one another's strengths, because I think that's how co-parenting relationships become very cohesive. Is that, okay, this your thing, this my thing, I'm gonna call you when it's your thing, you can call me when it's my thing, because at the end of the day, we all have different strengths as a parent. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that my co-parent, he has more patience than me with things. I can go to 10 with it. And so sometimes I need that patience to step in so that we can handle things, with a little less of my aggression sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think it definitely is about acceptance, but also about being able to acknowledge what that other parent's strength is too. And, even if you feel like you're the favorite parent or,
I ain't gonna hold you. I don't even know who. If I used to feel like when I was nursing the kid, I was her favorite.
If she's saying she don't know, then she know.
It's like, but now, because it's like when she comes to my house, you would think like she's being beat sometimes. Like the neighbors be like, "Oh, Cam is home. She hates leaving her dad." It's like my daughter is like 5'8", 164 pounds. She runs and jumps in his arms. I'm like, this is somewhat even inappropriate. Like, put her big ass down. Like, but she loves her dad. So I do. I love acceptance. I did have acceptance on there with also releasing this expectation or the dream that you had about what it's supposed to look like. Accepting the fact that we are here now and we could really be dynamic in this. Sometimes people are still holding on to, oh, such and such is still together, and look at the other kids in the class. So, and then really just accepting that that's where we are.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is letting go the relationship. Like the previous relationship, it's like you got like a building. It's like you got to knock that down completely and then rebuild as co-parents. You know what I mean? And then you don't feel. It took me time, but like now, like I don't feel anything from what we had as husband and wife. It's just Cameron's parents, and so it allows me to make decisions just from that standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. So how much, because I asked some people or share with them my list, and I put respect. And many people was like, why does respect need to be on there? And some people was like, nah, like respect should be on there. But there were some men and women was like, I don't need to respect her as long as we could communicate, as long as flexibility, like more people was pushing the flexibility because things change. We change our schedule all the time. The school hates it. But it's like, oh, Cam said Dad was picking her up today. Okay, well, that's not what's happening. She's getting on the bus coming to Mom. But that flexibility, and I could be a very rigid person because I'm very structured. So the first few years, he could be very flighty and last minute-y, and it's like, hey, I'm going away. When? Oh, at 6 o'clock today?
That's true.
Yeah, can you grab Cam? Like, what? Like, I can't even function like that. Like, it throws me off. So I really had to learn a level of flexibility, still holding him accountable, like, hey, you threw my whole day off as well, but things happen.
I think
But wait, answer the
Go ahead,
respect part first.
So that's what I'm in my mind. I'm trying to see if I have a delineation between respect, empathy, and acceptance. Like I feel like with something like empathy for a co-parent, you can't have empathy if you don't respect somebody.
That's not true, right? I could walk past a person and see that they're homeless and have empathy for them. I don't even know them to respect them or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna respect you. Like I'm not gonna kick you because you homeless. I'm not gonna.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I know nothing else except for the fact that you are asking for money right now and this is what you need. So putting myself in your shoe is like, man, this must be rough. Respect may not pop in my head like, oh, I respect them. But I'm saying I feel like you can have empathy without respect.
What's respect then?
Go ahead.
I think that
let's give a good
I think
definition.
that as adults, if we like reflect on childhood, we understand how important our childhood is to who we are now.
Okay.
And as parents, if we say that once we have children, then our children are most important and we would do anything for our child, it's like, how can you say those things and know how important childhood is without respecting the co-parent? You know what I mean? Like how can that be? How can that be true? How can you do anything for your child but you disrespect the co-parent of your child?
And so that's that. Even without Sophia reading the definition, my other thought in respect is you have to have it, because kids sense everything. Right? Kids sense and they know everything. And so if they can sense like, oh, my mom doesn't respect my dad, or my dad doesn't respect my mom, that causes turmoil for your child.
Right.
That's gonna be extreme mayhem. The other thing is too, like, and I have noticed some, co-parenting relationships where one parent is okay that the child is disrespectful to the other parent.
Right.
And
right.
I don't think that's cool at all.
Yeah. So there are different definitions. Many talk about admiration, but then some just says showing regard for their abilities and worth. So the regard of just, you are my child's other parent.
Right.
There are abilities you have. You are worth something. If God forbid something happened to you, I have to support this kid in grieving a parent. So I do still feel like a level of respect. No, does it have to, like I'm bowing down, but the way that you respect people impacts how you communicate with people.
Yes.
How you trust people. So the debate that was happening with people was like, I don't have to respect you as long as I could communicate. So I said, can you think of a time or a situation in your head of someone who you don't respect and how you may communicate with them versus the person that you do respect? The way you may speak to your grandmother versus a contractor who owes you money, like who you feel like you don't respect how they move.
In your mind, while they're talking, you're like, this motherfucker.
Exactly.
Or this, that's what you're, and you're not even listening to what they're saying.
Exactly, but that grandmother, she's saying some nonsense too, but because there's this deep admiration or respect or regard for them, you end up responding differently. So I just was adding to that because many people feel like you don't. But I think that if you allow yourself to look at that other person with a level of empathy, a level of acceptance, all these different things, building upon that and saying, I do respect this person, it may trickle down to affect all the other areas.
Yeah,
with your level of flexibility, ownership, and accountability of saying, hey, I fall short sometimes, sorry that I missed the bus or whatever the case is. Co-parenting, like you said, sometimes it's that fear of, I don't want to put out that negative side because you are going to throw it in my face
Judge
another
me.
time. That is hard for me to take accountability when I talk to you.
Right. I mean, I think that a lot of it goes back to really just putting the kid at the front. And then when you make decisions or how you talk to people, how you deal with the other co-parent, think about the kid's position, or when you decide you want to keep the kid extra week and keep them away from the other parent, like just thinking about the kid. Like if I think in your mind, if you truly put the kid's best interest and put the kid first, then it changes the outcome of a lot of decisions where you're just looking at it like it's two co-parents having, this situation, and then the kid will be fine. It's like just thinking like what truly is best for the child in this situation. Like our child is better if you and I respect each other. Our child is better if you and I have a relationship where I can acknowledge your strength and you can acknowledge mine, and you can do what you do best, and I don't have to try to do what you do best because I don't want you, coming down on me for not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think that for you and I, like a lot, like with COVID, it changed a lot.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Like for you to take the position of, okay, just keep Cam here because I know you working. And for every time me to call and it's like, or you'll call me, hey, your daughter just wants to see your face. She's been asking about you. She missed you. Like I never in that time or the months where you had Cam, you never said one thing negative to me about not being able to come and get her. When I did come get her, you like, come and get her for as long as you can, and then just bring her back. And so that was like to me a big turning point, because it like changed the relationship and it gave me a different level of respect for you. You know what I mean? And I in turn like would try to do more for you to make sure that you had whatever you needed. And I think that only comes from a relationship where, we have like a common ground and we view each other as being on the same team versus like you wasn't like, well, you ain't been to get your daughter in a month. And you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. It's truly hard for the kid to have the best outcome if two co-parents don't find a way to build a relationship where mutually like they're pushing the kid in the right direction.
Yeah. So with that being said, one of the things that we do on our podcast is we offer our listeners takeaways. Right? And we wanted your perspective from a man's perspective. And of course, you're not speaking for all men, but a nice handful. We give takeaways. And what's a takeaway that you will give men and then women about co-parenting? Even though, so what happens on here is we give takeaways throughout, because what you just said was a takeaway of putting the kid first, and the more that you do that, you get to show up in a different way. So you really could reiterate that, or if you have another one, but I want you to give a takeaway specifically to men and then also to women.
I think one would be, even though we all know it, I don't think it's really practiced, is like to try not to get involved in situations where you're having a child until you like are married to somebody. And although you and I didn't work in marriage, like I don't know how to explain it, but like I still have I think that my desire to raise our child coming from the situation we came from is different probably than if you and I just say, well, like more casual. And I think that making a decision to commit to having a child is a bigger decision than what we typically express it as. You know what I mean? So it's like the same person who you created life with, if you thought about it, you may not have been willing to marry that person. And I think because we placed the threshold for marriage so high, if we kept that same threshold as it pertains to reproducing or having children, then we probably would change, the
outcomes a little bit,
or at least less likely to be in a situation where we're co-parenting in the first place. But I think that once you are in the situation of co-parenting, I think the main thing is to understand that the better that relationship is, the better the outcome for the child. And if you truly want the best outcome from the child, that means making sacrifices and making that relationship work just like you would if y'all were in a romantic relationship. You know what I mean? To make sure it's not just like we communicate what we need to, but like we can have a good conversation. We could be in the same place around our child. And I think that just really believing and living by doing what's best for my child, or those sayings that everybody say but I don't think we necessarily live, is the biggest takeaway for both sides.
Got you. Well said. What you got, Dr. L? What's a takeaway? Or even if you don't want to just give a takeaway, what do you feel like is one of the most effective things about an effective co-parenting relationship?
I absolutely, I'm adding my star to kind of what Alex said.
Okay.
And I guess I will say my co-parenting relationship it didn't always feel good. But one of the things, so this is my takeaway. And it's kind of an addendum to what Alex said. If you are figuring things out in your co-parenting relationship, trying not to expose the child to it, because it may be rocky at first. It just like there's no handbook to parenting, I really don't feel like there's a real handbook to co-parenting.
Absolutely.
And so as you're working out the kinks, don't show the kids the kinks. And you wouldn't know, like, as frustrated as I was at the beginning of my co-parenting relationship, my child didn't see it. And now at 11, she's a little weirded out by it, actually, because she's like, I'll be like, hey, did you something to your dad? She's like, I don't know. Talks to you more, he talks to me. Or she's like, y'all are like friends or something. It's weird. Like, she, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm frustrated with him, probably recently, maybe like in the past year, is like the first time she saw it. Like I was frustrated. And we moved past it. So that was healthy for her to see at 11, but probably not at 5. You know what I'm saying? And so in working through the kinks, keep the kid out of it. Keep the kid away from it. If you need to vent to your homegirl, your homeboy, don't do it with the kid in the car. Because that's not fair. It doesn't create good feelings for your kids.
Yeah. So one of my takeaways is adding to yours in a different side, that I feel that we all are, everything is energy, right? So at 4 or 5 or even 11, or even, our kid is going to be 17 and she's nonverbal, they feel everything.
I agree.
So not as you iron the kinks out, keep them away from it. My takeaway is being honest age appropriately and not just letting them feel what is
residual
happening. Because as we're ironing the kinks out, it's showing up, right? Sometimes being a little snappy with the kid. I remember times and I could be vulnerable and say this to him now, but I remember being so frustrated with my daughter. If you could only imagine what autism could look like as she figuring things out, not seeing her dad every day. I'm in a new relationship. There's new children around. It just was a lot moving.
Absolutely.
But we will get into a heated argument and I'm like, oh, Kim, and it might just be that. And I would be feeling so bad behind it, right? So I do think that these kids should have some awareness or idea, but age appropriate. So for example, mommy is just really sad right now because things are different, and even teaching them what grief looks like in a different way, right? But not saying because he cheated on me and we divorced now and he not gonna pay child support, without the detail, but being honest from the feeling perspective, right? Of teaching these babies how to feel and not going to school and acting it out there or bottling it up internally and creating worry and anxiety, right? So my takeaway is you can be honest with these little ones, just in a very age-appropriate way. Mommy is sad today, so I just need a little minute. But we're going to work this out. Mommy and Daddy loves you so much, but today was just rough for me. And that's what these, every grade, from pre-K to daycare, are teaching kids about big feelings, right? So why not practice it at home? So that's one of my takeaways. You want to add?
The one that I'll add, and it's not gender specific, is don't use your kids as your sounding board about their other parents.
Absolutely. That goes, yes,
Right?
exactly.
And in the same light, develop a way that you can give your co-parent feedback without dragging them down.
Yes.
Right? And so, I pay attention to dates more than my co-parent, and so I plan life based on the dates that I pay attention to. And if he doesn't, and it's a work conflict, and he misses a dance recital, I'm not gonna say to my kid, your father not coming to the recital. His ass ain't gonna be there again. He's trash. I'm not gonna. You can't say that to the kid, but I am gonna call him up once she gets out this car and say, "Yo, the recital's the same weekend in June every year. You have to be mindful because it's not fair and blah, 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 blah." And it's okay, as opposed to saying, "Yo, you trash," and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Because people hear things
you a
different.
Deadbeat.
That you can give feedback without dragging somebody down.
Absolutely.
So those are my takeaways, and those are not gender specific.
And I think
go ahead.
A lot of times, when parents are negative about one, they think that it makes them look better.
Yes.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. That kid is gonna grow up you're bitter. You've been bitter. My father had been married for 28 years and you still talking shit about him, or you still calling my mother a thought, and she's 49. Sir, stop saying that. Nobody even uses that word anymore. Right. So yes, I definitely agree. Another last takeaway, but no, you know what I was thinking about, Shug, when you said stop making your kid your sounding board. That's why I'm not gonna hold you. When parents say, "That's my best friend," I cringe.
I do too.
I cringe. I'm not gonna hold you. I have bought into, I'm hanging with my broke best friends. I have said that on social media.
I don't even want to say that.
I have. When I was at the Wizards
leeches.
game with ZJ, and he was like, "Oh, what we gonna get to eat?" and blah, 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 blah. We already stopped at Dave Hot Chicken or whatever. It was 2 chicken strips for $50. I'm like, "You still want stuff here?" He was like, "Yeah, you think I can get a jersey?" I'm like, "The Wizards is trash, sir." And he was like, "We're gonna get a jersey. I'm gonna get a little fitted, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yo, I'm really hanging with my best friend." But that scares me when people say that's my best friend, because in my mind, I'm thinking what I share with my best friend, what are you sharing with this 13-year-old best friend or this 6-year-old? My blended kids have come back and said some wild shit that their parents said, and I'm like, nah, your mother did not tell you that's the theme song about your father. That's wild to me, but that is what I think. Stop using them as the sounding board or best friend. But my last one, which is very consistent with every episode, is see you. Alex said 1,000 times, his kid is the most important person in his life. He thinks that I'm his slash therapist slash best friend at time, but I've had to say, work on you. I'm gonna work on me, because that is the most important person. And the more that we develop and grow, allow us to show up in our ultimate way that really benefits the child. Not focusing on the child and I'm missing this entity. The most important relationship in this world is the one with myself. So even if I have to be honest and say, damn, I'm still grieving this, even though I know it's been 10 years or this, I have to say that with me. I have to get the help that I need. Maybe it might be co-parenting classes, it might be therapy, it might be whatever, but make sure that you are seeing yourself to develop you and grow so that you truly can be the best parent for that child.
I like it.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, I know you're a dad, but tell us who you are business-wise, how people can follow you, what you do.
What do you do, sir?
I'm a dad. I'm in real estate. I flip houses. I'm on Instagram, Al Rehabs Houses. And that's all I really do. I co-parent and I work.
Okay, sounds good. Any email address, or is it just Instagram?
That's best.
Okay. All right, good. We want to give you that plug.
Oh, it's so nice having you here, Al.
Thank you.
You know us dads not organized.
I thought he was going to be late, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to let the IEP meeting trigger me. And you was on
like,
time.
I was out here like an hour early.
Oh, well, you did say you was going to come straight from school.
So I wouldn't be late.
Good. But
Thank
I
you.
would like to say thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for having me.
And I
It
am
was
thankful for our growth as
Absolutely.
co-parents. I appreciate it. It's made this journey a lot more easier
long,
knowing
long way.
exactly. We really, really have. So, all right, guys, you know how to follow us on Instagram at Real Therapist.
Oh, we on TikTok now.
Oh, friend, where have you been?
Real.therapist.
Oh, okay.
Real.therapist.
Okay, so we
on
gotta
TikTok.
add more.
We do. Okay. We got this.
You
Yeah.
can also follow us on Facebook at Real Therapist. You can email us about any content, topics, even if you just want to respond to the episodes that you already have seen at realtherapist@gmail.com.
And on YouTube, Real
And on-
Therapist.
She already told you. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Until next time, be kind to you.
Peace.
Peace.